Hello friends, welcome to Star Explainer. Tales of Herding Gods Part 4:19 explains based on novel. So let's start explanation. The surging river was the celestial river. Its water gushed endlessly from the other heavens and crashed onto the ground there as it flowed into the ocean in the primordial realm. The surging river was vast and majestic, its breadth as wide as an ocean. If all of its water was removed, one would see that the river contained heavens belonging to countless water races. At this moment, the mountains on the two sides of the river trembled like giant waves. These divine mountains were tall and imposing. One could imagine how terrifying the giant creatures beneath the ground were. Yun Chuxiu's expression changed slightly. She quietly hid behind Qin Mu and muttered, "Mother Earth. It can't be. Isn't she dead?" Xu Jun's expression also changed slightly, as he stared at the rise and fall of the mountains on the two sides of the river. "Divine King, don't worry. With me around, Mother Earth is unable to see us." Divine King Lang Wo's voice traveled over. Xu Jun became slightly at ease. The 9 heavenly dragons trembled with fear and came to a halt. The current of the surging river was indeed ferocious. However, it almost got cut off. Clearly, a giant creature from the shore had dove into the river. Because its body was too big, it stopped the flow of the river. Boom! A violent shockwave traveled over, and a giant stone coffin slowly rose from the heart of the river, blocking the path of the heavenly dragon treasure carriage. Qin Mu put away the jade bottle and took out the core of the primordial tree. He transformed it into a cane as he walked out of the carriage, raising his head to look at that giant stone coffin. The huge roots at the bottom of the coffin were like tentacles, wriggling below the water surface. "Celestial Venerable Mu, there are still 5 years left in our 10-year agreement." A roar came from within the coffin, as a terrifying corpse aura flowed out. It should be the corpse of North High Emperor. "Did you return to revive Mother Earth?" Countless fish corpses floated on the river surface. After some time, they suddenly started to move after being infected by the corpse aura. Qin Mu smiled and said, "There are still 5 years left. There's no need for High Emperor to be anxious. In that case, why did you wake Mother Earth?" The corpse in the stone coffin was furious. "I'm in trouble and need Mother Earth's help." Qin Mu said with a serious expression, "Does Mother Earth know that there was once a celestial venerable buried in the primordial realm?" The corpse in the stone coffin fell silent. Beneath the water, the voice of Mother Earth traveled over, drifting erratically as she said faintly, "The celestial venerable that was buried in the primordial realm. Are you referring to the celestial venerable that was buried 40,000 years ago at the celestial venerable ridge?" Qin Mu smiled as he said, "It should be him. Mother Earth, that man is the Grand Emperor. He has come forth to kill me. I would like to ask Mother Earth to help me stop him." "He's the Grand Emperor. He's still alive." Mother Earth gave a snort as she said angrily, "As you know, I'm already dead. Are you trying to get me completely obliterated by asking me to confront the Grand Emperor? There's no one who understands the power of the Grand Emperor better than me." Qin Mu patiently said, "The Grand Emperor is also dead. There's no need for Mother Earth to worry. The ability of his 40,000-year-old corporeal body won't be too powerful. It should still be much stronger than my current state." Qin Mu glanced at the stone coffin and laughed. "I'm around to help too. That should be enough to handle the Grand Emperor, right?" The stone coffin trembled. Clearly, the corpse of North High Emperor was very fearful of the Grand Emperor. Or more so, the corpse was fearful of the Celestial Venerable. The abilities of the Grand Emperor are peerless. Do you know how many ancient gods died trying to kill him back in the day? The voice of Mother Earth came from beneath the water, sounding furious. Why couldn't you behave yourself and remain in the primordial realm to work on your cultivation, instead of provoking him? You are dead for sure. Wait a moment, I've seen him. His coffin is flying here at great speed, carried by many white skeletons. Qin Mu's heart flickered slightly. The surface of the surging river became calm, like a giant mirror, and projected the image of a flying copper coffin carried by many white skeleton gods. It was traveling at great speed, almost moving as fast as the heavenly dragon treasure carriage. I could really die if I were to stop him. Mother Earth said, back in the day, in order to eliminate the Grand Emperor, there were no less than 10 battles. However, even the final battle wasn't enough to kill him off completely. The Grand Emperor has ways to prevent me from reviving forever, and now I'm unable to fight head-on with him. Unless you bring me back to life. Qin Mu said indifferently, if I'm dead, there's no way you can be brought back to life. The surging river shook violently, its water bursting into the sky. Clearly, Mother Earth was furious. Qin Mu was unmoved. He said, he's also dead. I need you to help me stop him right here. We can't let him take another step towards the east. Mother Earth, can you do it? You dare to threaten me? Mother Earth was getting more furious, and waves of heart-gripping roars rang out from within the coffin. The coffin then opened, filthy corpse aura filling the air. Child, come with me to kill the Grand Emperor. Mother Earth gave a roar, shutting the stone coffin as it rose in the air. At the same time, the ground shook as Mother Earth's roots burrowed deep underground, causing the earth and the surging river to tremble incessantly. Qin Mu turned and returned to the carriage. Yun Chuxiu was shivering with fear. She tugged at his sleeves and said, Darling, when are we leaving this place? Divine King Shujun also felt some uneasiness. It was very easy for him to expose his identity, as both the Grand Emperor and Mother Earth had seen him before. Although the consciousness of Divine King Lang Wo could prevent Mother Earth from seeing them, she was unable to hide from the Grand Emperor. Wait a while more. The god eye at the heart of Qin Mu's brows opened up as he looked into the distance. He lowered his voice and said, I'm unable to put my heart to rest as long as the Grand Emperor is alive. I'll never bring him to eternal peace. He frowned and said, Strange that Celestial Venerable Xiao hasn't made a move to stop the Grand Emperor. Logically, he should have already taken action. If not for his passivity, I wouldn't have summoned Mother Earth. He used his god eye to look at the lands far away. That high Emperor stone coffin was flying close to the ground, alongside the surging river. Waves rolled and crashed on the surface of the river as they moved upstream. Finally, Qin Mu saw the copper coffin that was flying through the air, being carried by hundreds of white skeleton gods in tattered clothing. There were still 1,000 miles between the stone coffin and copper coffin. At this moment, Qin Mu saw a middle-aged man and was stunned. Founding Emperor. That middle-aged man had a sword by his waist and looked like an ordinary traveler who had made a long journey. He appeared to be lonely. Although Founding Emperor Qin Yi's steps weren't quick, he was still faster than the copper coffin carried by the white skeleton gods. Soon, he was nearing the copper coffin. The copper coffin and those white skeleton gods shook abruptly, and the coffin cover flew up with a whoosh. From the coffin, a huge figure came flying out. His clothes were luxurious, except that over time they had become worn out and tattered. The clothing fluttered in the wind, covering the entire sky. Although this figure emerged from the coffin, his size was bigger than the coffin several times over. Under his robes, the copper coffin was only 1,000th of his size. His overflowing arrogance charged into the sky as overlapping celestial palaces appeared behind him, looking incomparably terrifying. This was the corpse of a celestial venerable. It was in the celestial venerable ridge, stealing its earth chi and yin aura for 40,000 years, and it had long been transformed into a corpse demon. His eyes were like bright moons, appearing tranquil but distant. His gaze was extremely cold, freezing the vapor in the air to create a scene of drifting snow. For a moment, Qin Mu saw everything falling into a state of atrophy. The trees withered, and the surging river froze. The wave of decay was quickly spreading. Qin Yi, we meet again. That celestial venerable corpse gave a loud roar as terrifying consciousness engulfed his surroundings. Back in the day, during the founding emperor era, you tried to enter the celestial venerable ridge multiple times, trying to seek out my treasure. There were a few occasions where you almost died at my hands. And now, you appear again. Founding emperor pulled out his sword. Qin Mu saw the carefree sword transforming into a moving sword light that covered the sky, forming 34 overlapping heavens. It's been a long time. Founding Emperor Qin Yi returned the carefree sword into the sheath with a faint clinking sound. This middle-aged man then continued to walk forward with his arms crossed, hugging his chest as though he was feeling a little cold. Above his head, that celestial venerable corpse slowly split open, cut into countless pieces. That giant corpse body then crumbled, falling from the sky. In the distance, the gushing surging river suddenly stopped, and so did that flying stone coffin. Qin Yi revealed a puzzled expression as he looked at the faraway stone coffin. He shook his head and said, Celestial Venerable Mu bragged about how well his eternal peace was developed. In that case, why does this primordial realm have so many monsters and demons? He couldn't help but shake his head again. The stone coffin abruptly fell, stabbing into the ground with a thud. Countless tentacle-looking roots emerged from the ground, quickly coiling around the stone coffin, before retracting back into the earth. Qin Yi removed the sword by his waist. He stabbed it, together with the sheath, half a foot into the ground. Violent tremors came from beneath the earth as rows of ravines with abrupt cliff walls appeared, created by the sword qi that penetrated deep into the earth. On the broken cliff walls were gigantic thick roots, with divine blood flowing out of the cracks on their surfaces. Streams of blood formed a river in the valley, creating a frightening scene. That was a quick escape. The middle-aged man knitted his brows tightly as he hugged his arms, flying towards the east. The carefree sword flew up and landed by his waist. In the distance, on the surging river, Qin Mu shut the vertical eye at the heart of his brows. Suddenly, the waters of the surging river filled the air as countless roots burst out of the water, entangling the heavenly dragon treasure carriage, entrapping it. Fresh blood was still flowing out of these roots, turning the water red. Mother Earth's voice came from below the water. She was incensed. Celestial Venerable Mu. Qin Mu quickly stood up on the treasure carriage and shouted, "This isn't my doing." Bullsh *T. Mother Earth's voice was full of rage. She shouted, "Not your doing. Do you think you're deceiving a 3-year-old kid? I can overlook the fact that you asked me to help you handle the Grand Emperor, but you actually planned to ambush me here with Qin Yi. He's your ancestor, and the two of you have ganged up to attack me. Today, I will kill you." Qin Mu hurriedly said, "This really isn't my doing. If I knew Celestial Venerable Qin was here, I absolutely wouldn't have asked you for help. The heavens can be my witness. You know that I'm an honest man, and that I wouldn't deceive anyone. If not for the fact that I had no other options, I wouldn't have asked you for help." Mother Earth gave a snort. Although she would very much like to get rid of this kid, she still needed him to help her reconstruct her soul. However, she was very unhappy that she had suffered a loss just now. Qin Mu laughed as he said, "Mother Earth, I asked you to help me handle the Grand Emperor. However, you didn't do so. Instead, you're now piling your anger on me. What logic is that? Before you leave, I have something that I need you to do." He reached in and grabbed Yun Chuxiu from the treasure carriage, shouting as he held her high up in the air, "Mother Earth, do you recognize her? Zhu Wuchen." The river waves crashed and tumbled as a big flower rose from the water, towering over the treasure carriage. The flower slowly opened up, revealing an eye in the center. It rolled around and focused its sight on Yun Chuxiu, laughing coldly as it said, "Celestial Empress, we haven't met for a long time." Yun Chuxiu's face was pale. She pedaled her legs, but was unable to break free from Qin Mu's grip. She turned and stared furiously at him before turning back with a sweet smile. "Mother Earth, I feel very sorry about you having fallen to such a state. 30,000 years ago, you dominated the primordial realm, and could take the celestial heavens head-on by yourself. Now, you're just like a miserable stray dog, and even celestial venerable Qin could beat you easily." Qin Mu laughed as he said, "Mother Earth is indeed knowledgeable. However, you have guessed incorrectly. Zhu Wuchen isn't Celestial Empress, she's Mistress Yuan Mu." The river water trembled. Clearly, Mother Earth was shocked to hear this. All along, she thought that Zhu Wuchen was Celestial Empress. She didn't expect her to be Mistress Yuan Mu. "You didn't take care of the Grand Emperor. In that case, why don't you help me take care of her?" Qin Mu smiled as he said, "The Grand Emperor was very powerful, but this Zhu Wuchen is only a small divine bridge realm divine arts practitioner. It should be quite easy to handle her, yes." A root flew over and grabbed Yun Chuxiu as Mother Earth's laughter traveled from the center of the flower. "I'm more than happy to take care of Yuan Mu. Our old grudges." That big flower slowly sank into the surging river as Mother Earth's laughter came from beneath the water. "It's time to settle them." Yun Chuxiu struggled non-stop as she was dragged into the surging river. She shouted angrily, "Qin Mu, I won't let you off." Qin Mu heaved a sigh of relief as he thought to himself, "Finally, I have sent this troublemaker off. Now that she's not around, I can help Celestial Venerable Yun gather his soul." Qin Mu released a long sigh of relief and felt relaxed. After returning from the Great Void, Yun Chuxiu had always been pestering him, leaving him with no time to help Celestial Venerable Yun summon his soul. Also, it was dangerous to summon souls in the celestial heavens. The 10 Celestial Venerables were around, and there was no way he could hide from them if he was to help Celestial Venerable Yun summon his soul. Now that Yun Chuxiu was gone, he could relax. "Zhu Qian, let's go." There was joy in Qin Mu's voice as he returned to the treasure carriage. The heavenly dragon treasure carriage began to move. The 9 heavenly dragons galloped forward, heading towards the east along the river. In the treasure carriage, Divine King Lang Wo asked, "Holy Infant, don't you want to meet Founding Emperor?" "There's no need to." Qin Mu opened the vertical eye at the heart of his brows, and Celestial Venerable Yun's corporeal body fell onto the carpet. Divine King Lang Wo emitted her consciousness, engulfing the treasure carriage, and preventing anyone outside from looking into the carriage. Qin Mu's consciousness and vital qi surged forth, transforming into many runes. He said, he came to see the development and the results of eternal peace's reform. "It's useless for me to meet him. He has to see it with his own eyes in order to break the delusion in his heart. Moreover, I'm afraid that Celestial Venerable Xiao is currently using the divine weapon Celestial Venerable Yu to monitor this area. It's better for me to be well behaved." Shu Jun laughed coldly. "Holy Infant, you consider yourself well behaved." Above the primordial tree, the divine weapon Celestial Venerable Yu retracted his gaze and slowly closed his eyes. The clay person in the primordial tree celestial palace released a long sigh, muttering to himself as he paced around. Celestial Venerable Qin is much stronger than he was in the past. However, he's still far away from the celestial heavens realm. His founding emperor era was unable to support a realm such as the celestial heavens. However, his sword techniques are terrifying. Also, there's Celestial Venerable Mu, who's a troublemaker, causing trouble everywhere he goes. However, I didn't expect Mother Earth to incite and create trouble. Remarkable, this is indeed remarkable. In order to get rid of Mother Earth, Heaven Duke, Earth Count, and Celestial Venerable Mu's resurrection technique must be eliminated first. In the Heavenly Dragon Treasure Carriage, Qin Mu immediately performed his spell, chanting his phrases and executing his divine art, as he tried to summon Celestial Venerable Yun's soul. After some time, he stopped and frowned. Is the Holy Infant unable to feel Celestial Venerable Yun's soul? Divine King Lang Wo asked. Qin Mu nodded and pondered over it. Even if a soul is shattered, I'm still able to summon the Black Soul Sand. For existences such as Celestial Empress and Mistress Qin Mu, even if they're alive and pretending to be dead, as long as I have their corporeal bodies, I can locate the whereabouts of their souls. My divine art can search the heavens and earth. Once my divine art is activated, thousands of heavens and worlds, even the celestial heavens, Xuanju, Yuanju, and the heavenly Yin world, will experience my divine art. However, I can't feel Celestial Venerable Yun's soul, as though it doesn't exist. This is the doing of the Grand Emperor. Divine King Shujun pondered and said, the Grand Emperor has such abilities. He can make souls completely disappear, making it impossible for anyone to find them. Could Celestial Venerable Yun have been killed at the hands of the Grand Emperor? Qin Mu had a grim expression. He gently nodded and asked, even if a soul was shattered, it would turn into black soul sand and be absorbed into the heavenly Yin world. What great abilities does the Grand Emperor have to make Celestial Venerable Yun totally disappear? He was rather puzzled. His soul guide was a spell of Yudu. After he made changes to improve it, no one could escape his tracking, no matter where they were. He still had confidence in this particular type of spell. In this world, only 3 people have the ability to prevent you from finding the souls you desire. Shujun said solemnly, the first is clearly the Grand Emperor. The other 2 are the ancient gods Celestial Empress and Mistress Qin Mu. Celestial Empress and Mistress Qin Mu possess the ruins of End, capable of shattering and annihilating everything. Back in the day, when they activated the ruins of End, it killed countless experts of my race. One of the other 2 divine kings of my race was killed under the hands of these sisters. Not to mention souls, it can even destroy consciousness, snuffing it out of existence. Even the Grand Emperor is incapable of this. The strength of the Grand Emperor is his extremely powerful consciousness, the great overarching supreme consciousness. Qin Mu nodded. The Grand Emperor's great overarching supreme consciousness was incomparably exquisite and intricate. The celestial heavens had been waiting for Left Assistant Minister Yang Shaoqing to create an Emperor's throne consciousness technique. However, it had long since been created by the Grand Emperor. Why is the great overarching supreme consciousness called great overarching? Shujun said, actually, his consciousness has long coagulated, since the ancient primordial era, forming the great overarching consciousness heaven. That is a void world completely constructed by supreme consciousness. Not to mention your spells, no spells in this world can work there. In that world, the rules of the Great Tao are completely determined by the Grand Emperor. I believe the soul of Celestial Venerable Yun was exiled to that place by the Grand Emperor. Divine King Lang Wo didn't understand this and asked, can Divine King Shujun describe the great overarching consciousness heaven in detail? Regarding the great overarching consciousness heaven, I also don't know much. Shujun said, back when the Grand Emperor wasn't yet so powerful, I fought with him for the title of number 1 strongest practitioner. It was during that time that I heard him talking about this. He had cultivated his great overarching supreme consciousness technique to its peak, and had begun to reach the ultimate void. His consciousness was coagulating in the ultimate void, ever-changing and undying. Maybe only when one has cultivated their consciousness to his level will they be able to find the great overarching consciousness heaven in the ultimate void. However, at my prime, when I was alive, I didn't manage to cultivate to this stage. He looked at Divine King Lang Wo and said, "Your consciousness is much stronger than me at my prime. Are you able to reach the ultimate void?" Divine King Lang Wo shook her head. "With my current consciousness, I can only reach the 35th void, a step short of the ultimate void." Xu Jun revealed an envious expression as he sighed. "It's already much stronger than my prime." Divine King Lang Wo said indifferently, "This is natural." Xu Jun gave a snort as he laughed coldly. "Don't be too complacent. I'm now starting anew. All I need to do is cultivate the celestial river divine treasure to surpass your divine bridge divine treasure. My future power will exceed yours many times over. Some time ago, I sought help from Qi Jiui on how to open divine treasures. Compared to carefree villages' country bumpkins, he is far more clever." Qin Mu was shocked. Divine King went to find Qi Jiui to learn about divine treasures. "Why do you reject what is near and seek what is far?" Xu Jun didn't understand him and said, "You are always with Lang Wo and Yuan Mu, and had no time for me. Hence, I could only consult Qi Jiui." Qin Mu smiled as he said, "Although Qi Jiui was one of the early figures to open the celestial river divine treasure, he wasn't the earliest. Xu Xinghua and I were the earliest to open the celestial river divine treasure. The second figure wasn't Qi Jiui, but the dragon Qilin. He has received my teachings." Xu Jun glanced at the dragon Qilin, who was sleeping on the floor. He was dumbfounded. The dragon Qilin raised his head lazily and gave him a look of disdain. "Fatty Dragon has been with me the longest, and is one of the few who is most familiar with the reform of eternal peace." Qin Mu laughed. "Back when I was opening the various divine treasures, and touring the various great academies, he was always by my side. Be it martial Dao, divine arts, sword techniques, or battle techniques, he is familiar with all of them. Why do you have to consult Qi Jiui? Back then, in eternal peace, he lived in the West Earth and didn't know much." The dragon Qilin yawned a few times and stuck out his tongue to lick his lips. He said, "Qi Jiui is my third brother. I'm his elder brother." Xu Jun was even more stunned than before. In the celestial heavens, a youthful and radiant girl with two cute ponytails swaying behind her hurriedly walked towards the Patriarch Creation Palace's Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge. She was another Yun Chuxiu. "That little rascal actually let Mother Earth take me away. That body of mine won't survive, and will be destroyed by Mother Earth. Back then, I was the one who offended Mother Earth, reporting her to Heaven Duke for stealing his essence, resulting in him giving her a beating." She rushed towards the Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge, her two ponytails slapping on her bottom. She muttered to herself, "However, it's not easy for that little rascal to shake me off. Since he doesn't want me to go to the primordial realm, I'll go to the capital city of eternal peace to wait for him." I didn't know he had actually cultivated to the god realm, so I was taken advantage of, with him immobilizing me in his grip. This time, I've created a heavenly god corporeal body. When I see him, I'll vent out my anger by giving him a beating." When she was about to enter the Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge, she saw Lian Huahun walking over. As the two ladies met, they stopped walking and stared at each other guardedly. "Sister Chuxiu, didn't you leave the celestial heavens with Celestial Venerable Mu for the primordial realm?" Lian Huahuan's eyes were filled with hatred and curiosity. She asked, "Why are you still in the celestial heavens?" Yun Chuxiu raised both of her hands to bring the ponytails in front of her breasts, smiling as she said, "Can't I return?" "Sister Lian, where are you going?" Lian Huahun stared at her and said gently, "What about you?" Instead of being my elder sister, you wanted to be my mom. Yun Chuxiu smiled coldly as she said, "You seem to want to control and manage everything. Are you able to control me? You controlled brother-in-law so much that he ended up sleeping with me." Lian Huahan laughed gently and said, "You are, after all, my younger sister. Can't I care about you? Wherever you go, I'm going as well." Yun Chuxia rolled her eyes and said sweetly, "Since you want to come along, be my guest." She entered the spirit energy mutual shift bridge. Lian Huahan smiled faintly and followed along. After some time, a white cat leaped like it was flying through the air, and entered the Patriarch Creation Palace's Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge as well. After some time, they appeared at the Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge outside Eternal Peace's capital city. Yun Chuxia bounced and skipped as she headed towards the city. She cried in shock, this primordial tree got bigger. Lian Huahan frowned, raising her head to take a look at the little primordial tree that had taken root in the capital city of Eternal Peace. She snorted and said, "Heresy." Right at this moment, a middle-aged man arrived at the Mud River manufacturing factories outside the capital city of Eternal Peace. The present-day Mud River had plenty of manufacturing factories. These were huge buildings that stood along the river. From far, the area looked like a god city. Divine light shot up into the sky from the center of these manufacturing factories. Many giant divine furnaces operated day and night ceaselessly as complicated-looking robots manufactured divine weapon components under the control of divine arts practitioners. There were also countless divine arts practitioners mapping and imprinting all sorts of runes, forging divine weapons. There were numerous ships in the air, which were carrying the newly forged divine weapons towards the Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge, preparing to send them to the celestial heavens. This was a busy area. Founding Emperor Qin Mu walked past the manufacturing factories and inspected their layout. He saw that some of these factories were still producing strange amusing tools such as reflective windmills. Runes of all sorts were imprinted on these tools, making them convenient to people. Blind is divine metal formed from a sequence of single crystals using microscopic algebra. Founding Emperor Qin Yi suddenly heard a loud and clear voice traveling over. To his surprise, he saw an old man carrying a case talking to another old man leaning on a bamboo cane with black dragon bones around his waist. The elderly man with the case said, "Black gold is a sequence of multiple crystals, while divine gold is a sequence of single crystals. If we simplify the multiple crystals of black gold into a single crystal sequence, wouldn't black gold be turned into divine gold?" According to theory, yes. The elder who was being referred to as blind had a gaze that was incomparably bright. He took out a piece of divine metal and a piece of black gold, then widened his eyes suddenly, giving off divine light in all directions. The structure of the black gold and divine gold was seen clearly by him. He said, "The important question is, how do we change the microscopic crystal sequence? Mute, it's difficult for your forging techniques to see these tiny crystals precisely." The voice of the elder referred to as Mute was deafening. He coldly laughed before saying, "It's because of microscopic forging that I created the Heaven Eon Furnace forging technique, by imprinting runes on the tiniest crystals. The crucial point is that my eyesight isn't as good as yours." Suddenly, the two elderly men noticed Founding Emperor, and they turned their heads at the same time to look over. Mute grinned. "Arbar, Arbar, Arbar." Blind leaned on his cane and smiled. "Brother, Mute is asking where you come from." Founding Emperor walked forward, smiling as he said, "Brothers, I'm from Carefree Village. I saw you debating heatedly, and I couldn't help but listen a little. Just now, you were talking about how black gold could be turned into divine metal by changing its microscopic crystal structure. Could you elaborate on that in detail?" Part 4:19 end here. Thank you for watching.